Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Looking Out and Up with Penny and Les Sojourner. We're primarily a podcast, so turn up the volume and listen up. Because what's been bothering me lately is the amount of complaining.
So you're complaining about complaining?
I'm not complaining. I'm just making an observation, and it's just not healthy. It's just not healthy. The amount of negativity that I see and that I hear, people are just complaining, and I think it has to do with more of the way you think. I think if you have more positive thoughts, positivity it's not a mood. It's not a mood. It's an effort, and when you continuously put an effort into thinking positive,
Mm-hmm.
it changes your life. It really does.
We're very fortunate. We have, and we've mentioned it before, the children we have, and we don't have any depressed children. And I think I was a big person to drive this home to our children years ago, is depression for most people is a choice. You're choosing to be depressed because of what it is that you decide to focus on. So if you are going to focus on the negativity in the world, and don't get me wrong, you can't just always brush negativity under the rug. There is a time and place to call something out. What we're hoping to do with this podcast, and this is something that bothers Penny a ton, is that if we're going to do this podcast, we can't just throw things out there. We have to at least attempt to offer some solutions. And I hope anybody who's listened to the podcast is realizing that we're attempting to do that. I can't give everybody, there's not an answer that fits, everybody across the board. But I agree with you 100%. The complaining thing is going to get nothing resolved. If you feel like you have to vent about something, complain about something, just set a timer somewhere and give yourself a minute to vent and complain about something. And then it's either important enough that you're going to attempt to find a solution, or it wasn't that important. You need to leave it behind. But
I think maybe a lot of people are complaining because they want your attention. They want you to feel sorry for them.
In the modern world,
they're complaining because they want clicks.
It's a clicks and views thing in the modern society a little bit. Yeah, I think that I will never undersell the fact there's always a lot to complain about if you choose, there again, if that's where your focus goes. There's a ton of things to complain or to be upset about if that's how you're going to direct, if that's where your energy is being directed. But you do have a choice with everything that you're doing to decide to direct your energy towards something positive or towards just being negative. And like I said, this oversimplifies for a lot of people because they just don't want to believe it's that simple. But where your focus goes, we're gonna do an episode on this in the future, and we'll talk a little bit about fear and how everybody has to deal with fear. We're all fearful of certain things in our lives, and most people are fearful of death. Some of us are fearful of public speaking. But there are ways to negate fear, and there are ways, just like there's ways to negate fear, there's ways to negate complaining and negativity. And that is to focus on positive things, to focus on a reason for being. And you and I both know this is where it gets dangerous, right? Because people, a lot of times, their focus goes to their job, and this is their reason for being. It's not that that's a terrible thing, but at some point, folks, you're not going to be employed, hopefully. Hopefully you can put that in the rear view at some point and get on and enjoy other things in life. Have you focused on anything that you would like to enjoy outside of work? Most people describe themselves by their work.
Most people can tell you what they don't like that's happening to them.
Yeah, this is true.
They had a long list of complaints. I'm depressed.
And usually, what you're going to find with folks like this in general, I think, is that they're not going to accept responsibility for why they feel that way. It's almost always going to be somebody else's fault. It's always going to be some other group's fault, or it's going to be, I don't know, here again, the local government's fault, or your wife's fault, or your children's fault. Or one of the things that I'm huge on is that I try to push that somebody will make the statement about, he made me feel. No, he didn't make you feel. He put words out. You took those words, scrambled them in your brain, and you then decided to be negative about something that was said. He or she or they, well, we covered that in a past episode, did not make you upset. You're upset by choice. Now, people can do things that we find upsetting, but we don't have to let them upset us. And we certainly don't have to let them control us or guide our whole day, or even, if you're committing more than 3 or 4 minutes to this, you're wasting your time. And you're either happy to be depressed or to be complaining, or you've just got to get out of your funk, and you're going to have to change the way that you view the world. You're going to have to just have to change your perspective. The old, I heard this years ago, the word repent in the biblical sense. When they actually took this and they turned it into the modern interpretation of the word repent, it literally means change your way of thinking. And if you want to repent, then you have to change how it is that you're viewing things. And this is something that it gets me every time, because people think it's a lot of work. It's not a lot of work. It's not a lot of work, folks. It's not. If you can find something every day to be thankful for, if you can get up, how does the old adage go? Change your attitude with gratitude. Yeah. Wake up and be happy about something, right? Figure out that every morning you're going to wake up and you're going to give thanks for something. I'm not saying from a religious standpoint, but just from a personal standpoint, what is it that you are thankful for? And the real complainers in the audience are going to say, I have nothing to be thankful for. You're not looking very hard, folks. That's the cop-out. That's the easy way out. There's all kinds of things to be thankful for.
So just remember, positivity, it's not a mood. It's a choice. It's a choice. Mm-hmm. So choose it daily.
Yeah, do your best to choose it daily. We're all going to, people get in funks. And the important thing is, this is kind of like if you're an alcoholic. This is one of those things. This is important, is to acknowledge you have a problem. If you're in a funk all the time, you have a problem. Acknowledge your problem. Also realize that it's not some problem that's just impossible to overcome. This is not difficult to overcome. You just have to change how it is that you're doing things, how it is that you're viewing life. And like I say, spend some time being thankful. Tell your wife thank you for dinner. Be thankful that your children are healthy, or be thankful that you have some extra money in your pocket that you can go buy a specific item, or go someplace that you've always kind of wanted to go. Just take the time to be thankful for something. And as you get here again, we're going to keep hitting on this in these videos or in these podcasts. As you get older, Penny and I know we got old when we really started appreciating just sitting in the yard and watching birds. This is a funny thing. Old people watch birds. I don't like to think that we're that old, but we're old enough that you do start to appreciate the butterflies in the yard, the bees in the yard. Just take a moment, folks, and just realign your thinking, right? Repent. Change your way of thinking.
Remember, life doesn't get better.
You get better.
We'll talk to you soon.